I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is that Joe Biden is finally ending the COVID restrictions. The bad news is he's only ending them for illegal aliens who are trying to break into our country. Law-abiding American citizens still need to muzzle up, at least on public transportation, where the CDC has reportedly decided to extend the federal mask mandate for just 2 more weeks. Just two more weeks. Where have I heard that one before? At the same time, Joe Biden is officially ending the Title 42 public health authority, first invoked by President Trump, that allowed immigration officials to turn away illegal aliens and send them back to their native countries relatively quickly compared to the rest of our system. So, Biden is apparently worried that Americans might spread the new subvariants of the variant of the virus that even in its most virulent form never posed much of a threat at all to the vast majority of Americans. But he's not worried that millions of unvetted foreigners from countries with much lower public health standards than we have will spread the same virus to each other and to us. Great news for people who want to take advantage of our country. Bad news for our country's own citizens. In other words, more of the same. 2 weeks after 2 weeks after 2 years later, here we are again. Nothing changing. Here to help me make sense of this, because we do not merely want to be pyromaniacs in a field of straw men. We want to hear out what the other side has to say and hear the best arguments for what seems to us to be absolutely absurd kind of policy. So we're very happy to be joined by Jen Perelman, who is an attorney, an activist, a former congressional candidate in Florida's 23rd Congressional District, and right now the force behind the Generational Change podcast. And I love me a good pun. Jen, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Jen, this is our first time meeting. We haven't really spoken before. I don't know where you stand on this issue. Frankly, I don't know where the majority of Democrats stand on this issue. But it seems to me 2 years later, 2 years, now more than 2 years, after 2 weeks to slow the spread, isn't the COVID stuff over? Can't we move on and take the mask off and go back in public and just live our lives?
Well, I have. You're not going to get that much of an argument from me. I'm pretty vehemently opposed to mandates in general. I think that the policies for COVID from the beginning have been based on 2 things, fear and profit. And neither of those things are reason. And that's generally how I like to go about policymaking, is through reason. And that's not how it's ever been handled. So
I totally agree with you. Do you think that view, because I've heard other left-wingers say this, though it seems to be maybe a minority view on the Democrat side, just knowing the party, do you think that the majority of Democrats are with Biden on this and keep locking down and keep wearing masks, or do you think they're ready to move on?
Okay, so when you say the majority of Democrats, okay, that's a very interesting thing, because technically I'm one. I'm registered as one. I live in a closed primary state, so I have no option for myself. But I don't agree with them. I don't support their policy. I don't like Joe, and I don't think the majority of people do. So when you say Democrats, there's going to be certain establishment, blue or die people that are just going to say yes to whatever he said. But I don't think most people support him. I think his poll numbers show that.
I think you're right about that. I mean, the poll numbers are in the doldrums, and it's not just true of Biden, it's true for the entire administration. Kamala's down at 35% or something right now. Buttigieg has been there around the whole time. He was the next one they kind of wanted to make happen. So then,
good luck with that.
Good luck. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's going anywhere. So then what does that mean for the party? Because I don't think that your anti-establishment, anti-Biden perspective is particularly fringe in the Democrat Party. If you look policy after policy right now, it would seem to me that the majority, or at least a huge number of Democrats, really don't like what Biden is doing. So what does that mean for 2022 and 2024?
Oh, I think it's very easy. The Dems are going to get their asses handed to them this year. And I am actually, and I've been saying this for a very long time, I truly believe your next president is going to either be Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis. And the Democrats are the only people that don't seem to know this. Actually, in Florida, they're extremely delusional. In Florida, they're actually running a race against DeSantis this year for governor that they have zero chance of winning. And in my mind, he's not even running that. He already won that. He's running for president already. So the Democrats, at least in Florida, are very behind the eight ball. I think they're living in a fantasy land. And again, I'm referring to the people on the inside, the establishment Democrats, not just everybody who's registered as a Democrat.
So is your issue with the party that they're not enough like DeSantis? You know, they've got to go much further to the right, or are you hitting them from the left?
Oh, I'm left of them for sure.
Yeah.
I'm left of them for sure. But my issue with all of it is the corruption. If I would support, let me tell you, I will support, and I will do, and I am doing that actually right now in North Carolina. I will support a non-corporate Republican over a corporate Democrat. So for me, it comes down to who do you work for and who pays your salary. And the way I see it is they're supposed to work for us. Those are our employees. They're extremely insubordinate. And as a result, we can't get policy that the majority of people want. So I don't support anybody who's a corporate whore. And that goes for both sides of the aisle.
I remember a lot of my friends in LA, some of whom were pretty prominent left-wingers actually, before 2016, they said, if the Democrats nominate Hillary, she's going to lose. I won't vote for her. My friends won't vote for her because she's this absolute corporate establishment shill, and she won't offer us a choice. She won't, it'll be an echo rather than a choice, to parrot the language of the right 50 years ago. So what would your advice be right now? You're in the room, you've got all those crooked Democrat establishment types there who are just trying to run the same old playbook. What would you tell them to do to have a chance against a Trump, against a DeSantis, against whoever the nominee is going to be?
Right now, the movement is populism. Okay, it's populism on the left, it's populism on the right. And I said this in 2016. I said to people, if you don't support Bernie, you're getting Trump. That's it. Hillary has no chance of winning. I knew that then. I understand it because she's horrible. There's nothing that would have made me vote for her. And so, they are not responding to what people want and particularly what labor needs. If you're not, labor is the unifying force amongst us. If you go to a labor rally, for example, you're going to meet reds and blues there. And they're not going to be sitting there and arguing about wedge issues. They're going to be sitting there and be fighting for a living wage where they work. And those are things that unify all of us. The Democrats need to get behind economic policy that will help people and stop worrying about wedge issues that are just there to make them look like they have some sort of moral high ground. They're extremely sanctimonious. They don't offer any real substance of strategy or anything that will help regular people get themselves out of the mess that we're in right now.
You're focusing on something that's so insightful, which is, look, I'm a culture warrior. I think some of the cultural issues are important, especially now in education. I think they drive voters. But I think you're right on this labor point. Historically speaking, the party that can speak to American workers and can talk that language and offer them something very often does well, because you get red and you get blue, and the party of Pittsburgh tends to do a little bit better than the party of Paris. And right now, Democrats have made themselves the party of Paris. I've got to let you go. I'm up against a break. Jen, where can people find you?
I am at Generational Change on YouTube, Spotify, and on iTunes. And our website is generationalchange.com. That's generational with a J. And I'm at JenFL23 on Twitter.
I love that, but next time you come back, by that time, I hope I will have a cool pun for my podcast title. We'll need a little bit of time to work on it. Maybe you can offer some suggestions.
Hey, if I come up with something good, I'll give it to you. I don't even see you. So, but if I think of something really good, I'll offer it to you.
Please do. Email it over to me. I appreciate it, Jen. Jen Perelman, thank you so much for coming on. I have to tell you, I expected more support for Joe Biden's policies from Jen, from a Democrat candidate. But when you look at the poll numbers, maybe I shouldn't have, actually, because as she said, look, I'm not a Republican. I don't support Republicans, but a lot of Democrats don't support what Biden is doing right now. The poll numbers reflect that. I think the White House knows it. Frankly, I think that's why they're pushing the COVID stuff. Glad you liked that clip. Now, hold up. Ring the bell. Subscribe. Get those notifications. Get past the big tech censors. We'll see you next time.